Hey, everybody, welcome to the Melanated Midlife podcast, where today we are talking about my personal decision to be sober curious. And that terminology might be new to some people. It was somewhat new to me, but I wanted to share with you what's going on and my reasons why. And this will probably be more of a part one, because I'm going to have to come back at some point and let you know how things are going. So as I am recording this, I am about a few weeks into a new sober journey. I made the decision to follow this sober path in relation to what I'm experiencing with menopause. So I do encourage you to take a look at my episode where I'm talking about things that I'm doing and trying to take control of during my menopause journey, because I did not feel like I was in optimal health. So in addition to all the usual menopause symptoms that you probably heard of, so brain fog, disruptive sleep, unexplained weight gain, hair loss, itchy skin, vaginal dryness, all of these different things that are probably very common for, any other women that are in your life that might be going through a similar time. I also read about the benefits of abstaining from alcohol that could possibly improve your experience during this time of life. So I am starting year 4 of menopause. So it has been a party, I will tell you that. And thank God that I'm going through this at a period in history where we're more open and more vocal about what's going on with our shared experiences. It makes me shudder that there was probably a time before now where women were not allowed to talk and share about this openly, where they had to suffer in silence, and literally suffer in silence, because you have your own personal furnace that's going off at unexpected times. You wash your hair and you see everything just falling out of your scalp onto the shower floor. Or you are in the middle of a sentence and you forget what word you're trying to get to come out of your mouth. All of these things happening just really make you think you're going freaking crazy. And I just, like I said, been experiencing some things where I'm just trying to get a handle on how I'm going to make it through. But I realized that overall, there were things about my health that I really wasn't satisfied with. So as you can see, I always make a reference that you can take one look at me and realize that I have not missed a single meal. I enjoy my food. I love all the culinary delights that are right here in my neighborhood now that we've relocated downtown. But in addition to those really decadent meals and really world-class experiences that we've had while we've been here, there would always be a cocktail that would accompany that meal. I am a fan, unabashedly a fan of spicy margaritas. I consider myself a fan of different wines, whether it's red wine or white wine. And if you Google me from a lot of years ago, you might even see that I had a little semi-podcast venture with a good friend of mine where we called it Women Whining About. And that's all we did was drink wine and talk about it. So shout out to Shayna Conrad if she's listening to this. But that experience and kind of what we've been going through now, you might want to ask, well, wait a second, is she giving up alcohol because she has a problem with it? And that's a good question. I hesitate to say that I had a problem, quote unquote, with alcohol, but I will say that there were times where it became an automatic habit to reach for alcohol. And I can say specifically for me personally, that reached a fever pitch during the COVID era. And my COVID experience, which I'm sure was probably very similar to a lot of yours, was where we were isolated at home for extended amounts of time. We, working from home, trying to figure that out. Both of my boys were in high school at the time, and they were cooped up, bored, isolated from their friends and their social circles. So there was just so much that was out of our control. But one thing I did have nearby was my wine collection, or I had my margarita mix that I could swoop up, to something tasty right there at home, which all we could do was eat, drink, and watch TV and open up our laptop and get on the occasional Zoom call for business continuity purposes. So it was during that time, the first time that I would say during the COVID isolation, where I saw myself drinking very regularly every single day. And for you, you may hear that and say, big deal. She had a drink every day. That's not somebody that has a dependency on it, or not somebody that has formed a true addiction. And that's okay. I mean, I honor everyone's perception and everyone's opinion of this. However, for me, I know that that was a period of my life where I didn't like the fact that I was drinking so regularly. So I was able to back off after that time period as life got back to normal post-COVID. I saw myself drinking a lot less. But then I noticed with the job that I moved into shortly after COVID, it was a lot of the corporate culture of work travel, networking events, uh, hosting big trade shows, things like that, where it was very easy for, people are splurging. People are, having these times where they're trying to come together and talk business and be social, get to know each other. And something that was a constant element was that the drinks would flow. Still does. And I realized that as much as I would indulge during those work meetings and work travel, that it was starting to make my rest every single night. My sleep was becoming more and more disruptive because my body was trying to break down that alcohol. So you have the late night extravagant meals, heavy, rich foods, and you've got a couple cocktails on your gut. And that was just something that I was starting to notice my energy levels were being dragged down. So as of late, with a lot of business travel, I've actually started to abstain during those business trips. And I've noticed a difference with my cognitive abilities, with the way that I show up a little more sharp and even a little more confident, quite honestly, in these different conversations. So that's been a plus. And in addition to that, taking it separately from work, and I don't want to blame work. I don't want to blame, the events that I find myself being a part of, because I still get to say what I will and will not participate in. And there's no judgment over any of my colleagues or new friends that I'm making when I'm on these different trips. Do what you want to do. But at least for me, I can say that I have noticed that I'm a little bit better, just that 1% sharper when I don't have a drink in my hand. So that is one thing that I wanted to share. I am also very admittedly an emotional eater. Again, you've heard me talk about how much I love my food. I love going to different restaurants. But here in Texas, where I am based, we can probably say that we have the best Tex-Mex food anywhere in the country right here. We also have some of the best Cajun food in the country right here. We got a lot of barbecue. We got a lot of fried stuff. And when you are feeling down, when you want to celebrate, when you want to come together with your friends and your loved ones, a lot of that is done around food. And so I would, the happy times are celebrated over food. The hard times, we commiserate over food. And I began and still struggle with this. And let me back up. I won't say struggle. It's something that I'm aware of, is that I am a very emotional eater. But when I would have, like I said, even with the work travel, there was always an automatic alcoholic drink right beside that. So with my emotional eating, whether I want to just completely veg out over a plate of nachos, or if I decide I want to celebrate over some fried fish and some French fries or whatever, there'd be a frozen margarita right next to it. Or there would be, some kind of rum punch or whatever, because these are all things that were just automatic accompaniments with certain favorite meals. So not only am I having the super rich foods, but I'm also having the high calorie, high, very sugary drinks right alongside of it. So as you can see, that added to a little extra insulation on me physically. So all of this coming together, like I said, the menopause journey just made me stop and reevaluate exactly what it was that I was doing to my body. Was I getting the right nutrition, first of all? Was I hydrating enough? And, I've got my tumbler right here next to me. This is not an accident that this is sitting within arm's reach, pretty much all day long. Was I doing enough with building up my muscle mass? Was I doing enough to keep the fat content down on my plate? All of these things are 100% within my control. So even though the brain fog is out of my control, even though the hot flashes are out of my control, I could control what I was taking into my body. And alcohol was the one thing that I was the most resistant to give up. So I had to sit with that for a minute. So most recently, I've started reaching out to some resources. One book in particular that I've started reading, and I'm just about finished with it, is Sober Curious by Ruby Warrington. And she wrote this in 2018. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can check it out yourself. And she basically goes down a very similar experiment with seeing, is she able to abstain from alcohol, and what were her reasons for wanting to abstain or wanting to reach for a drink. It just made her question a lot of things a little bit more deeply. And at least for me, I know that I don't want to be dependent to the degree that I was during the COVID era. And I want to try to give myself a little bit of an extra health edge right now while I'm kind of battling, having a boxing match, having an all-out wrestling match with all of my menopause symptoms. So it's just one more way for me to try to give myself an edge until I get past all of this. So hopefully what you'll see over the next 30 days, I'm going to come back and I'm going to record an episode to let you know how things are going, because I'm going a full 30 days of no alcohol, no booze, no sip, no smelling. I'm not going to be anywhere where I can be tempted to partake in a beverage. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to let you know how it's gone. If it was a struggle, I'll let you know. If I feel triumphant at the end of it, I'll let you know. If I manage to lose a couple pounds because I'm not taking in all the calories from those sugary drinks, hopefully that'll be one thing I can say was a bonus. And if at the end of this time, because I'm doing this at a point in my life where I am extremely busy, I will tell you, for the next month, while I have chosen to have this little experiment with myself, is going to be some of the most stressful time on my calendar that I've seen in quite a while. I've got a lot of work travel. I've got a lot of events to participate in. I have a couple of business projects that are going to be launching at the same time. And it would be the ideal environment for me to just sit down and unwind with a glass of Chardonnay, or with a glass of Pinot, or with a spicy margarita. But I'm not going to do that. And let's say right now that, yeah, I'll make it the full 30 days without slipping up, without falling off the wagon, as they put it. But I will let you know very honestly how this turns out and whether or not it was worth the effort. I believe it will be. I'm going to just give you the foreshadowing that I'm positive I'm going to have some really fabulous things to share with you. But I'm journaling every day. You have the video archive to see if I look any different at the end of 30 days. Probably not. But nevertheless, it's a journey that I wanted to make sure that I shared with all of you. So if you find yourself a little bit interested in what this Sober Curious experience is like, I invite you to give it a try. Let me know in the comments how this is going to be something that you intend to tackle. If you've already been on a sober journey, maybe you're further down the road and you can give me some tips and reach back and say, hey girl, this is what you need to do, or this is when it's going to start to feel okay. I would love to hear about it. But definitely, let's start a conversation. If there is a larger sober community that I need to be aware of, I would love to have a deeper talk with you. But more than anything, guys, this is a good thing, and I'm going to make sure you hear all about it. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll give you an update soon.